And thanks for joining us, listeners, for today's Elko Live program here on KELK. As we do on Tuesday, this is the day that we set aside for an update in city news. And our meetings are a little stretched out in between, which is nice, getting a lot of business behind the scenes done this time of year. And so we have an update today from our city building official. Jeff Ford joins us in studio. Welcome to the radio program, Jeff, today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And you're alongside our Assistant City Manager, Dale Johnson. And welcome, Dale. Great to see you again today.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having both of us. It's always a pleasure being on the show.
Well, thank you, Dale. We have a lot that we want to update listeners on, again, as we talked about things that go on behind the scenes. And sometimes these updates take a couple of years before they even come to the council. And what we're talking about today is the proposed code adoption, which is a work in progress. There are city building codes, there's an administrative code, there's a fire code, of which we won't be addressing specifically, but Dale, we should probably remind people that the fire code has also been worked on concurrently. Is that correct?
That is correct. JJ is working on that, along with our city attorney and, staff. So.
Our city fire chief, James Johnston. Yes. And he has staff as well who work, because in tandem, our city building department works alongside Jeff, our fire department, when it comes to inspections, right? And upholding codes?
We do, yes, that's correct.
So, Dale, we're going to let you kind of sit quietly unless you are needed to chime in. And I think that works for you today, right?
Sure, I'll jump in wherever I'm needed. And but Jeff, he's definitely the expert on as the building official and the building codes. So, yeah, I'll jump in where I need to and help out.
Thank you so much, Jeff, for bringing Jeff today. Dale Johnson is our Assistant City Manager. So, Jeff Ford, how would you describe your job as a city building official for those who might not be familiar with that?
Well, first and foremost, I manage the building department. I have 2 building inspectors that work under me and 2 permit techs up front. So we intake submittal packages for permits. That includes your plans, all your supporting documents. We review the plans for code compliance, and then when you get through that part of the process, then we do the inspections. Through until you get your certificate of occupancy. So
making sure everything that's on paper is actually
correct. Yeah. That's it in a nutshell. Yeah.
And so it's a pretty small department for handling both commercial and residential, Jeff?
It is, yeah.
A lot of work that goes on, and again, especially working on these code adoptions. So what is city code? Does it fit in under the state? Is it also part of a universal code, if you will?
It is. So we adopt the International Code Council codes. We also adopt the National Electric Code, the Uniform Plumbing Code, and the Uniform Mechanical Code. We're required to adopt those because that's what the state enforces. And so we try to keep it pretty simple. It's a pretty complicated process, and it's probably pretty boring to most people, but we do adopt, in the state of Nevada, we're allowed to adopt on a local level, although we're preempted to adopt the 2 that I just talked about. But most states, out west here, except for Nevada and Arizona, everyone adopts on the state level. The state adopts the codes, and then they just, they're given to the jurisdictions, and that's what they enforce.
But we have our independence here in Elko. Yes.
Yeah, we do.
Yes, so that's important. And we can make adjustments, and we're going to go over some of the proposed changes or adoptions, to the proposed code adoption, if you will. And the reason this is important, listeners, is because this affects your money. It affects our local economy. It's about loans and about insurance. It is also, most importantly, about having, Jeff, what you described as safe, built, and barrier-free buildings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. There are also some fee changes in addition to the proposed actual code changes, and we won't neglect those in today's program as well. So the first thing we should probably go over, Jeff, if that's tops on your list, is this is a process that's been in the works for a couple of years, and it has involved local builders. Is that right?
It has. So we have a list of all the stakeholders that are involved in it from the beginning. In our steering committee, we started that in October of '23. And so that entailed trips to Reno, to City Hall in Reno. That's where our committee met. And we voted on proposed changes. We had technical committees. I was on the steering committee. So once our technical committees worked through the proposed amendments, then the steering committee voted on them. And that was about a 2-year process, so.
And then you wanted to bring home what you discovered to our local building community because, as we well know, here in rural Nevada and in Elko in particular, one size does not fit all.
That's true, that's true. You know, so although we're trying to keep that uniformity between jurisdictions, each jurisdiction has different design criteria. So that's gonna vary from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, but I think we did a pretty good job on keeping everything uniform. I mean, that makes it better for the design professionals, for the contractors, for everybody involved to kind of know what to expect from jurisdiction to jurisdiction.
So it's important we can insert a little public service notice here that when the community hires builders, developers, handy people, they should be licensed. Is that right, Jeff?
Yeah, they have to be.
And
yes.
And that is for what reason?
Just for a safe built environment like we talked about earlier. Yeah. I mean, it's a state requirement, but
It is. You be a
yeah.
licensed contractor, right?
And then locally in the city of Elko, we require a business license as well.
I do want to add one thing on what Jeff was talking about there about being on those committees. When city staff has those opportunities to, be part of those boards and those committees, it's such a benefit to the community, the city itself, because they do have a say when they're on those committees, and so it's a big part of Jeff's job.
We appreciate that, Jeff,
yeah.
because the city of Elko being able to send a representative, and then you are a voting member, as you said, of the ICC, it helps smaller communities that don't have the staffing, like Carlin or Wells, other municipalities that also operate under codes.
Yeah, the networking aspect of it's really valuable. Because, I mean, I can reach out to building officials. I have relationships with most of them across the state. So, and we all do that with one another.
Yeah.
And so these building codes will reflect maybe trends in the industry, obviously new safety measures. Something that comes to mind is we didn't have fire codes, I don't believe, in Nevada, at least not the stringent ones we have now. We have among the most stringent because of a terrible, fateful casino fire in Las Vegas.
That's true, 2 of them actually. Most of our fire codes they come about because of tragic events, loss of life events, and a lot of our building codes as well.
And a couple of those things are addressed in the proposed changes that the council is considering that's been ongoing on the agenda. I want to make sure that we're getting to the topics you were hoping to really explain and reinforce today, Jeff. And there's a presentation. In fact, you had a consultant come in, Chris Kimball, to talk about the significance of some of the changes, maybe some of the things that would fit for Elko, and then some of the things that you could bring to the attention of the council that might not need modification.
So if you don't mind, I'll just kind of skip through this and hit the highlights.
Sure.
This is the presentation that Chris did for the building codes. He also did one for fire. So he just talks about, going from the 2018 codes to the 2024 codes. And then he says, if approved by city council, developers could choose to use now, but it becomes effective, i.e. required in 6 months from the date of adoption.
Now, some people listening, Jeff, not to interrupt you, but might hear, we haven't adopted since 2018. We're working under 20, but that's not unusual.
No, it's not. It's not.
It takes 3 years to develop. They come out with new codes every 3 years.
Every 3 years.
Okay.
And kind of collectively, most of the jurisdictions in Nevada, we've, agreed to adopt every other code because it is a lot of work.
So it is a lot of work. So why do we update? That comes to the next slide in the presentation.
Okay, why we update is enhanced life safety, reduced property damage, lower insurance premiums, community resilience, and consistency and efficiency.
And so if we looked at each topic, enhanced life safety, as we described earlier, sometimes these new requirements are incorporated as a result of a terrible tragedy or maybe even a natural disaster.
Yeah, that's true, yes.
And they could happen, for example, in other countries. We learn about, the violent force of nature, for example, and what we need to do. In Nevada, we do have to worry about flooding. We have seen that here in Elko. We have to worry, obviously, about wildfire. We'll talk more about that because that plays into the insurance. Other hazards that we have to worry about, of course, would you suggest, we have fire, flooding.
Well, we have earthquake.
Oh, thank you. Earthquake was the big
yeah,
one. Yes, yes.
We're a very high seismic category here, so that's one of our biggest concerns.
And here's a pro tip for someone, if you're like me and you have an older home in particular, make sure you check with your insurance, your homeowner's insurance policy, check with your agent, make sure you have insurance for earthquakes specifically because it's not an automatic.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
So, as we talked about, these codes can help us it can help the economy because property damage results in a huge economic loss.
That's true. Yes.
I see here, according to a FEMA study, with flood, wind, hurricane, earthquake, they say that if all new buildings across the country were built to modern editions of the I codes, our country would save more than $600 billion by 2060. That's pretty impressive.
That's pretty eye-opening.
Yeah, it is, really. And then did you want to talk about our insurance premiums, Jeff?
Yeah, I feel like this is a really important topic as far as our industry goes because yours and mine, our insurance, they are priced by this. So we go through an audit by the ISO, and that's the Insurance Services Organization. They score us. They've got I think it's 27 categories that they score us on. And they do that as well for the fire department, but they have their own category of requirements. But and it's the big thing for us is how current you are on the codes, and they look at a lot of things like the certifications, the combined certifications in the building department. Which ones you have, how many you have, how up to date you are on the building codes, which building codes you have adopted, and like I said, there's 27, and I can't remember all of them, but they put all those together in a rating system, and that's how they grade us. So
we know that ISO ratings come into play with talks about wildfire insurance, for example.
Yeah.
The entire northern part of the state, I think, including northeast Nevada, we got painted with this huge red brush, didn't we?
We did. I was affected by that personally. I had to find a new insurance provider because of that, and I know quite a few people that have actually. So, and that's because we don't adopt the wildland interface fire. So that's a big sticking point to them.
And that's something I think our Elko Fire Chief, Elko County Fire Protection District Chief Matt Peterson's been working on our behalf.
Yeah.
And Dale, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, the ISO also, like you said, deals with the fire department, and our ISO rating is a 2 at this current time. So that's a very good rating, and
because one's the best.
One's the best.
Yes, we wanted to explain that rating system.
A lot of that's based on their training and fire flows at the fire hydrants, which brings the water system into it and things like that. But,
and the equipment and training they have.
Equipment and training is a very big one. And, volunteers take into consideration and full-time staff as well.
Well, thanks, Dale, for reminding us of that. I know the fire department does take a great deal of pride. They'd love to get to number one, wouldn't they? So
They would.
for
Yeah,
all of
yeah.
our on all of our behalf. So as we're talking with Jeff Ford, of course, he's our Elko City building official, alongside our assistant city manager, Dale Johnson, today here on the radio show. So another reason that we update our codes is for consistency and efficiency. And we hear about this sometimes between like cities and counties, right? Builders would sure appreciate having, consistent or efficient codes.
Yeah, yeah.
Would you want to tell us about, what that means? We're not trying to throw anybody under the bus, because we know sometimes the county takes a while to adopt codes because it's a vast geographical area. There are so many different types of buildings and subdivisions and just regional differences. I think
Yeah.
it's fair to say, right, Jeff?
Oh, yeah, that's a great point. They have a lot more area to cover than the Elko building department does. But it's nice to have that consistency from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. For the building, for the design professionals. I think they would appreciate being able to do all their design out of one set of books instead of going back and forth. And the more we use outside plan review, third party, they appreciate it. And it just, it gives them an ability to have a more uniform review.
Well, for example, and we have friends who've done this, they build new construction, they order a set of plans, right? And they're really excited, and they take them in and say, here's our house, just stamp it and we'll pay the fee, right? But there's more that goes into that,
There's
Jeff.
quite a bit more, yeah. And the codes aren't getting easier. We have a few things where they've been relaxed in this cycle, and we did last cycle, but they're definitely, it's a complicated process, yeah. And so the more uniform you can be between jurisdictions, the better.
And as we talked about, the consistency and efficiency means not only between municipalities and county governments, but by belonging to the Northern Nevada chapter of the NNICC is what it's called, that they kind of get to pick from the codes that are most applicable. Do I understand that right, Jeff?
We do. So each jurisdiction, like I said, has the design criteria differences. But outside of that, we've tried to all stay pretty uniform on these codes. And that's a great organization. They're out of Reno, but most of us, northern building officials are a part of that.
So if I'm looking here at the presentation, something that jumped out that might be confusing to me and to others as well, but it said model codes do not carry the authority of law. And so these are codes, but they're stronger than suggestions. They are requirements?
They are.
Okay.
Well, once we adopt them, and
Yes.
by ordinance, they're law.
Okay.
But by themselves, we need that administrative code that we just currently adopted to enforce and administrate, these codes. But yeah, by themselves, they're not.
And so it's a balance too, because building officials don't just say, here are the codes, now approve these. The city council is responsible for the result of all this work, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Sometimes it's true, there can be political pressure, right? Sometimes
Yes.
builders, developers, or even individuals might say, sprinklering is too expensive, or there might be other concerns or considerations.
Yeah. So our jurisdictions never had an appetite to sprinkle residential construction. I don't see it happening anytime soon. Unfortunately, that's a big hit we take on our ISO rating, but I believe that our community feels like the benefits outweigh the hit on our rating. So.
Well, and is it true, unless maybe it was revised, but individual or residential buildings of a certain size?
Well, so we no longer have that.
Okay, that
we
did get rolled
have
back.
that in the code, but it got taken out. Yeah.
Okay.
There was a 5,000 square foot
Okay.
threshold, but we no longer have that in there.
And again, this is done with a lot of give and take from fire departments who say, well,
Oh, for sure.
yeah, if we're going to respond to a 5,000 square foot or more residential fire, and we're not going to require sprinklers, then we're going to need enough equipment, training, and 4 in when it comes to
Yeah,
firefighters,
that's
right?
a good point, yeah.
They advocate for those kinds of, so it seems like you pay for it one way or another,
Mm-hmm.
right? So Dale's nodding, but again, that, I think that was important to illustrate how this is really a give and take. This is not just an administrative task, you sitting at your desk, going to meetings, talking with other people. It's very forward, and people are included who are impacted.
Right, right. Yeah, there are a lot of people included in this process.
Yeah, and
I
that's why
mean-
we did the public outreach,
Yeah.
held the meetings at City Hall, and then
You have
we
good
also
turnouts?
there was good turnouts at both the fire code updates and the building code updates. And then we also did the presentation for City Council that Chris Kimball did. So there was, in total, 3 different types of workshops that were presented.
I can imagine it's satisfying for both of you too, who work in this administration of these codes, to have at least a couple of council members, one who works in real estate and has a family business in which they do a great deal of development. So she
Yes.
understands firsthand. Another is in a supply business, so also understanding.
Yeah. It does help, yes.
Yeah, helping interpret. So governmental members do cast the final votes on any proposed changes, Jeff. So that brings us to, I think you talked about this a little bit, though, that Nevada is one of 8 states that do not adopt at the state level. We get to decide independently.
We do have that freedom still, so,
Okay.
yes.
But also to be uniform and to be more, less frustrating to developers, we do coordinate with the NNICC.
We do, yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right. As we talked about, the adoption is, there are every 2 code cycles. And so how's Elko doing when it comes to adoption? Are we on,
We're getting there. So we've adopted the administrative code, which is, I mean, we have to have that to make everything work, I guess is a good way to put it. We're getting ready to present the building codes and the fire codes, the actual codes themselves. Then we've got the resolution. Those are all proposed over the next month and a half. So,
and sometimes we approach these things and, it's a little nerve-wracking because maybe not everybody has all the same information, right? Or you still have some outstanding concerns or issues. But how do you think we're sitting right now, about a month out?
well, so we have a business impact statement that we will be presenting at the next meeting, and we didn't get any responses back from those. None that were applicable. We always get, somebody in Spring Creek or wherever that thinks that when they get that, they're going to have to, bring their building up to compliance, and they don't understand the process, and that they're grandfathered in until they go to pull a permit, right, or build a new structure. So other than a couple of those, we didn't get any kind of negative comments. So.
Yeah, and the business impact only goes out to commercial businesses. It does not go to like regular residential homeowners.
So
things like
that's,
that.
yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up, Dale, because it does beg explaining there are a lot of people who reside in Spring Creek, but they have
Have
businesses
businesses here,
in
yes.
city limits.
That's correct.
And it does bring up that common discussion. People say, well, I own a business in Elko. I should be able to vote for city council or run for city council, but that charter has never changed. So,
It's a long process to try to change a charter, and it has to go back to the state legislation, and yeah, it would be a long process.
and I should mention too, on behalf of some of the business owners in our downtown area, our planner, Kathy Laughlin, has been working really hard with the infrastructure grant program through our local general improvement district, right, Jeff? And
Yeah.
because some of those requirements could be considered onerous and might perpetuate those buildings just sitting vacant.
Yeah. Well, and they also have the storefront grant.
Yes.
And that's a really good program. So yeah, so both of those together, that's pretty helpful.
Does some of those cross your desk too?
Oh yeah, so I have to, they all require building permits, so I look at all of them.
Yep. And there's also a third part to that is the infrastructure grant for water meter
Oh, yeah,
retrofits
yeah.
and upgrading your water lines. So
And I was going to save that too for you, Dale, to give us an update, because I know it's finished and you go downtown now and say, something's different, but it looks Great, yeah, the sidewalk improvement project.
Yep, it's pretty much finished. We have a punch list that the contractor has to go and has some work to be completed. There's a few sidewalk tiles that might need replaced, and if you noticed along the commercial block between 5th and 6th, none of the plants are in or trees.
That was brought
All
up to
of
my
that stuff
attention.
is going to have to be either put in the spring, or they can put it in now. If they put it in now, they risk it dying over the
Yeah.
winter months and then having to replace it.
That was my
So,
answer, was let's be patient, because I don't think they wanted to put tender plants and trees in when it's getting cold.
Yeah, that's right. We'll see what they decide.
Okay.
Pretty much up to the contractor on what they want to do.
All right. But again, it's now we get to decorate. That's the fun part. Yeah, we get to plug
that's
our
right.
lights in and do our
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
Yeah. So we veered off topic a little bit. That's exciting. But I think it's also exemplifies that the code documents, the adoption, the proposed code amendments that we're looking at, the city council will be examining in a month or so to adopt, that it's a living document, Jeff.
It is, yes.
Which means it's subject to all kinds of updates. You wouldn't, I like that that your presenter, that Chris, your consultant, made notes here. You wouldn't run a hospital, an airplane, or even your smartphone on 20-year-old software.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we're to the point in our discussion with Jeff Ford. He's our city building official, in which we are going to talk about some of the significant changes, and that there are some fee structures that have been changed as well. And so we should get right to those.
So the biggest, we talked, let me touch on the master reuse code that we just adopted. That's part of our administrative code. And just real quickly, that is a program to where a contractor can come in, get a what we call a master plan approved. We put it on file, and then they can just reuse it over and over.
Oh, like if they're doing
Yeah.
a subdivision?
Well, I mean, we allow them to use it anywhere. It's more of a cookie cutter. It's not really geared towards a custom home, right? But it's got, it helps them to avoid that time that it takes to send a new set of plan out for a third-party review. So it does save some time. And, we're proposing a reduced plan review fee for it, because we still have to do some plan review for your civils. We still do all that in-house. That's going to be a really big change. We had it before, but it was never codified, and we never had a fee for that part of it. So now we're proposing a 50% of a normal house, a standalone house.
So tell us the numbers.
Well,
I mean, they sound jarring, but honestly, if you're building a new property, it fits in there.
Yeah.
it does.
But keep in mind that builder could submit 4 or 5 houses under that.
And pay one fee.
Well, they'd pay fees for each one, but they wouldn't have to go back to the review stage for each of those houses over and over if they were doing a subdivision.
Okay, thank you,
Yeah.
Dale. I
And
appreciate
it's very advantageous to the city because I mean, it's a very streamlined process, right? And we don't have to send that out to the third party. So that's a big savings for them. It's a reduced fee for that plan review. It's 50% of what we charge for a normal house. But I think the biggest thing for the builders, well, this is what they've stressed over the last couple of years, trying to get something we could codify, was just it speeds things up, and that's what they want. So
Yeah, we have short time frames for building. Yeah,
Yeah,
for construction.
we do.
Yes. So it goes from what is the current fee
Well,
for one house plan? It's like $750 or something.
Well, so I've brought a couple comparisons
Okay.
here. I've got a house that's 1,938 square feet with a 748 square foot garage. So the current valuation, based on a 2009 valuation table that we use that we're trying to change, it's valued at $206,248. So the current plan review fee for that is $1,035, and the current permit fee is $1,592. So what we're proposing is to go from that 2009 table to the current table, and then stay current after that. Which this is published by ICC every 6 months. So it's going to be a pretty good jump for that first one because we are 15 years behind.
Yeah, I was just going to say too, and then just looking at the valuation, that is really behind. I don't think you could buy anything brand new for $206,000.
No, I did a Google search before
Yeah.
we came over here, and it says that the current cost for the square footage cost for a new home in Elko is $231 to $440 a square foot. We're currently valuing those at like I said, a 2009 table that uses $97.95 per square foot. So when we were putting this together, we were going off the February table, which was current is $169.09. Well, since then, the newer August tables came out, and it's $170.80. So that first jump's going to be, pretty good size, but moving forward, that's why we put both of these in here. You can see, that it goes from, it'll increase in that 6 month time frame. It'll go, your plan review fee will increase $10.92. Your permit fee will increase $16.82. But I will go back and say that jumping from the 2009 to the current table, your plan review fee is going to increase $513. Your permit fee is going to increase $789. But once we get past that hurdle, then the 6 month change will seem pretty insignificant.
And that's what happens when you don't increase your fees over a 15-year period. I mean, you're going to
That's a
see
shock,
some
yeah.
significant jumps. But going forward, the table and the fees are going to automatically increase
Oh, they will.
every 6 months. So there could be an increase in 6 months or a decrease in 6 months, and it'll follow that pattern.
Oh, that'll be interesting. So, and you did workshop this, right?
Well, the fees we didn't really. I mean, we touched on them a little bit, but we mainly just touched on the building codes because we just had 2 half-day classes on the building codes.
And then we did that business impact and sent it out to everybody that it's going to affect.
Okay.
So-
And then, just didn't get the response. So
Yeah.
you will hear back once the,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
there'll,
sure
there'll
we will.
probably be some chatter.
Yeah.
Once,
Sure.
Yeah, but as soon as we adopt that resolution.
But again, I think you sort of gave the bad news scenario up front. I mean, the fact is we're 15 years behind in updating these fees. It will start to level out, but there are some significant changes, things that maybe were proposed, things that don't apply, right? I mean, that's good
Yeah.
news that we won't be looking for added expense.
And the building department, our role is not to make a profit. I mean, we're supposed to just be self-sustaining enough to provide our services, to enforce a safe, built, and barrier-free community. Not just for the citizens, but, someone who might just be coming in for the weekend. I mean, we want to, safe hotels, safe restaurants, for everybody, not just the people that live here.
So here are some, and we have some time. We're running just a little over, but we have time because these are important issues to discuss. Some of the changes include cross-laminated timber, right? Increased fire protection for storing large quantities of lithium batteries. The fire chief has talked about that. Added requirements for repurposed shipping containers, because we do know people want to convert those into retail, entertainment, or even living spaces.
Correct.
And then some provisions for sleeping lofts in residences and even some residential deck provisions, which are described as improved. Yeah.
Yeah, deck failure is one of the leading causes of death in building codes. I mean, I think number one is electrical, and decks are. But the lithium battery issue, that's really changing our building codes. I mean, it's just unbelievable. The cross-laminated timber, that's a a specific kind of engineered product that's allowing, I think, up to 14-story buildings to be built out of wood, which we never had that in the past. So I don't know if we're going to see any of that here. We could, further down the road, but and the whole shipping container thing, I think that the added provisions for sleeping lofts, that's more geared toward the tiny home provisions.
Oh, right,
So,
tiny
yeah,
homes,
yeah,
yes. Because I also jumped ahead and looked at additive manufacturing, like 3D printing. People are going to start printing their
I
building
know.
materials.
I've watched some YouTube videos of that, but we haven't seen any of it here locally.
Wow, yeah. But it's in here. That's the
It
important
is.
thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So when people do have ideas, again, it's important that you know that you're working with a licensed contractor, builder, developer, supplier, all those things. So you're not just throwing money away.
Yeah.
And then some of the other changes that I want to make sure you get to mention today, Jeff, for bringing them on the program today. Or fee changes.
The fee changes.
Yeah. Anything else that really jumps out for people or?
No, I feel like the fee, like if we do get any kind of pushback, I think the large jump, 15-year jump in the fee increases is gonna have some people concerned. But I think that once they look at how minimal the changes will be moving forward, I think that'll help.
And
That'll
plus
help
is,
people be able to deal with that.
yeah, both of you pointed out that you have the master reuse plan, which should result in a big savings for someone who's seriously developing several homes
Yeah.
in the community. So,
Yeah, in both money and time.
right. And we, in the city council meetings that I've covered, even in recent years, those do seem to be the big sticking points when it comes to builders who are unhappy. And so it seems as though their suggestions really took root.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Well, we had that in the past. We just didn't have it codified, and so it would cause problems occasionally. But so now it'll be codified and official, and I think it's going to work good for everybody.
So anything that you've been listening to today that you want to know more about, Jeff, people can call you. They can reach out to their council members or the mayor, for example.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And Dale?
I think one of the biggest things that we kind of touched on maybe a little bit earlier was loans and being able to get a FHA or a HUD loan without adopting the energy code. That would not be possible.
So we have to do that.
Starting this month. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Jeff might know a little bit more on that one, but that could create some issues for lenders and home buyers.
I can touch on that a little bit. So any USDA loans, HUD, FHA, the way I read this is your jurisdiction has to have at least the 2021 energy code adopted. We're trying to adopt the 2024 code. So, but as of this month, that is a requirement. So the way I read this is people in our jurisdiction are not going to qualify for one of those loans until we get this adoption through. So,
And then it takes 6 months?
well, no. So
Okay.
right when we adopt it, we will give a 6-month grace period. So, and we've actually got design professionals calling saying, "Hey, when are you going to get these adopted? We've got new plans ready to bring in." So you can right after we adopt them, you can submit either one, either code cycle. But 6 months after that, then that grace period goes away, and you can only, submit the 2024 codes.
Yeah, it'd be better if you're submitting a new plan to submit to the 2024 codes rather
Yeah.
than the
Yeah.
2018s.
So, since we've talked about all these, the changes, the work that goes behind, this will be on an upcoming agenda, Dale, in the next
The
December agenda?
code adoption process will be 2 meetings. One will be first reading and then public hearing for the second reading of that adoption. And that'll be both the building and fire codes.
Sounds like we're on track to have new codes by 2026.
Oh, yeah. So I've got a timeline here where we will be wrapping up on January 13th. So hopefully everything gets passed by then.
That'd be the latest. If we could get it on sooner, we'll do that. But
Yeah,
we're
this could
that-
change.
Okay. Jeff,
the tentative schedule now.
okay, the tentative. But again, Happy New Year, and then it's time to get working on the next update
Oh,
when it comes. Yeah.
yeah.
So, Jeff, did we get to all the, I want to say, the talking points on your sticky note today?
Yeah, these were just the tentative dates. For
Okay,
for
just
the
wanted to make sure.
Following,
Yeah.
council meeting, so, yeah.
And
yeah, I
anything
believe
else
we
in the-
covered everything.
Did we cover everything? Yeah, I just wanted to emphasize too that, people may grumble about building codes, but it is all about safety. That's the number one priority. Certainly it is important to have, codes that are, they are cohesive and that they are, they are collaborative. They work with the community, but they also create, consistency and efficiency. But safety is the big thing. And then, of course, the economy, because I think both Dale and Jeff have talked about that, whether it comes to loans and then things done properly when the assessor comes around, right? Because the way your property is valued is also
Yes.
important.
Yes.
So, yeah, and sometimes things don't come up until a family goes to sell a property,
That's right.
and then it's too late.
Yeah,
Yes.
That's a bad time to
Then
find
it's
out. Yeah.
cleaning things up.
Yes. So, which can really eat into your profits. So, just contact the city building department if you have any questions. If you want to know
Yes.
if you're working with a licensed contractor, one thing I remind people, even if it's social media, they have to display their contractor's license number.
Yeah, yeah. So my front office staff, that's part of their job descriptions. They have to check on that right away. I mean, we can't issue a permit to an unlicensed contractor.
And when in doubt, even if it's something as simple as a fence, right? But you just mentioned patios, decks, that kind of thing. If you don't do it properly, it could be dangerous.
It could be, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when in doubt, or just with any questions, call the building department, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
The girls keep that app up on their computer. I mean, it only takes a few minutes to
Right.
check on somebody's license status.
Okay, the
And so-
license.
And another a good rule of thumb is if it requires a building permit, it has to be a licensed contractor, period.
And you can find it, because I've gone on there too to see what requires a building permit. It's all online, right, Dale? Right,
It
Jeff?
is.
Yeah. Go to the city website.
You know, we do have the owner builder exception,
Yes.
but that's only if it's your property and it's your prime residence.
And honestly, that's for a good reason, because we are independent Nevadans. We like being able to make these choices, but also just buyer beware. I mean, if
Yes,
someone's, we hear the sad stories of especially vulnerable people getting built, things being built not to code, and then they're gone. They'll sell you a carport, they'll install it. It is not to code, and then it's your expense to take it out, and you've lost the money on the thing.
It
So
happens.
it does. So, and nobody's trying to be the bad person. We're trying to be safe. Yeah. Keep
That's
people
right.
safe. Well, thank you both. I hope we got to everything you were hoping to today, Dale.
Yeah. Yep. We covered everything. So yeah. Thank
Council
you for
meets.
having us.
Oh, absolutely. All the time, every Tuesday, right? Yes.
Yep. Next meeting's next Tuesday. So
Okay. We'll look forward to that. We'll check out the agenda. Should come out on Thursday, right?
that should.
All right.
All right.
We'll
Thanks
probably
again.
see you there. Huh?
Yeah, probably see me there. If not, I'll be watching online with my cat curled up in my lap. So,
There you go. Well, thanks for having
Yep.
us.
Thank you.
yes, thank you, listeners, for joining us for Elko Live today.